Good morning, everyone. Hope you're well. Welcome to the Friday or Fight Friday live show. Hope you're all well. Please do smash that like button, subscribe if you're new to the channel. Boy, oh boy, oh boy, do we have some stuff to talk about this morning. Johnny Bones Jones, eh? I got a shout out to Luke Tanner and Jamie Phillips. We have a WhatsApp group together. Obviously, anyone who watches the channel regularly knows that those two have been massively helpful in helping this channel to grow. Without those two, I don't know how this channel would have grown because I've fallen asleep on watchalongs and stuff, and they've had to wake me up. So, but that's another story. Shout out to Luke, shout out to Jay. Links to their channels are in the description. Go and subscribe. Sitting down last night, just chilling for the first time in God knows how long, just chilling without having to do anything, and gets a couple of WhatsApp messages, and I see some quotes from Jones. I was like, this can't be right. Then I watched the video with Jones. I never thought I'd say this about John Jones. John Jones, John Jones is ducking. In fact, you know what? He's done it before, but he's openly ducking a fighter. And I've tried to think of so many ways around this without me saying the word duck when it comes to John Jones, because he's, in my opinion, the most talented fighter of all time. Many consider him the GOAT. I don't have him as the GOAT. He's one of the best of all time, easily. I don't have him as the GOAT. Mighty Mouse is my GOAT. I've also got GSP ahead of him in the GOAT list. But I mean, I don't think I could go any lower than number 3 for Jones, even if you don't have him at number 1. But what he's doing at the moment is beyond shocking for me, for so many reasons. He's ducking Tom Aspinall, and he's been ducking Tom for a while, but this is the most obvious duck I've seen in a long time. And look, I'm going to read out his quotes just to add some context. He said, if there was a fight, if there would be a fight of a guy that's still on the roster that would be not only financially worth it, but legacy worth it, it would be Alex Pereira. We're both 37 years old. Right now, I weigh 235 pounds. I think Pereira walks around at 240. I think that fight would go much further on my legacy than a young man who's cool today and maybe gone tomorrow in Tom Aspinall. He then went on to compare Tom Aspinall to Johnny Walker, saying that people said Johnny Walker would be the next big thing, and we see how his career's panned out. I'm going to break this down into a few sections here. Him and Alex Pereira are both 37. Alex Pereira is a bigger name than Tom Aspinall. He's more popular than Tom Aspinall. But if Jones really believes in his heart of hearts that for legacy, for fighting, that having Pereira on his record as opposed to Aspinall on his record, he's lying to himself and he's lying to us. Pereira was the 185-pound champion. Tom Aspinall would have to cut off both of his legs to make 185 pounds. And even then, he'd still have to cut weight. So that's the first thing. Pereira is a 205 pounder currently. Currently a 205er. Then you add on to the fact that Pereira's never fought at heavyweight and never fought at heavyweight in the UFC. Not to mention what's seen as Pereira's kryptonite, someone with good wrestling, someone with good grappling, someone who could take him down and nullify his standing attacks. What does John Jones special in? Ding dong, wrestling. Jones is trying to cherry pick a fight here. Now, if there wasn't a clear number 1 contender in the heavyweight division, believe you me, I'd be all up for this. I'd be all fine with John Jones cherry picking an opponent because the division wouldn't have sorted itself out yet. But when you have Aspinall who's there, who has been running through the heavyweight division, is the current interim champion who's defended his interim belt, there should be no other conversation about who he fights next. if he beats Stipe and decides to continue. Dana White's to blame for this. All the glazing he's done for John Jones, all the leverage he's given John Jones, all the, you know, the leeway he's given John Jones. This is why John Jones is so entitled. This is why John Jones speaks like this, because it's disrespectful. And I'll be honest with you, if this were to happen, if Aspinall were to get thrown to the side and John Jones fought Pereira, the UFC becomes boxing from that day forward. I've grown up hearing the UFC is where the best fight the best. No one ducks anyone. No one is allowed to duck anyone. And we do things the right way here. We're not boxing. Well, I hate to break it to you. The UFC is becoming boxing more and more and more. And it's really sad to see. In fact, the only thing that doesn't mirror boxing is the fight pay or the fighter pay. If there was mirroring boxing and the fighters were getting paid handsomely, I'd probably let it go. But they should be getting paid more. I know people sit there and go, oh, well, you know, they stepped in the cage for 25 minutes and got paid $1 million. Do you know what goes on in the 8 to 12 weeks before they have to step in the cage? Have you ever made weight before? Have you ever sparred? Have you ever trained for 5 hours a day for 8 to 9 weeks? Maybe having 1 or 2 days off a week if you're lucky. Because if you haven't, with all due respect, don't comment on the situation. I've trained Muay Thai. I've trained boxing. I've trained karate. I've trained jiu-jitsu. I've sparred in multiple disciplines. I'm telling you here now, as someone who's done it at a low level, £1 million for someone to go in there and risk their life against another trained fighter is small money. It is small money. Do not sit there and think it's just 25 minutes. That 25 minutes is the easiest part of the whole fight camp for them. That 25 minutes is the closure to the chapter of this fight. Not to mention the years of sacrifice that would have preceded them so they could get to world level to become a world champion or fight for a world title. So, yeah, I don't even want to hear that whole notion of pay as well. I wanted to go in another route, though, and I saw Ariel Helwani tweet this, and I had thought about this, and I tried to maybe make some leeway for it. Could Jones be doing this to try and boost a fight between him and Aspinall, to make it look as though he doesn't really care, and then if he gets the fight, he'll act nonchalant about it, which may get people more talking about it? To me, it doesn't make sense. Doesn't make sense. If you're gonna try and fight someone and make good money, you try and put that person over. I've just said it. Tom Aspinall is not a bigger star than Alex Pereira. He's a better fighter, though, in the heavyweight division. At heavyweight, he's a better heavyweight than Alex Pereira. At heavyweight, he's the best heavyweight in the UFC, including John Bones Jones. Why? Because Jones hasn't proven that he's a better heavyweight than Aspinall. Jones had one fight at heavyweight. A man who lost to the previous heavyweight champion, Francis Ngannou. And I'll ask you this, guys. If Jones beats Stipe, is he the best heavyweight in the world? Is he the even best heavyweight in the UFC? Does that fight give him that? Because for me, it's no. As much as people clown the PFL, Renan Ferreira is a tougher fight heavyweight today than Stipe Miocic. Francis disposed of him. Curtis Blades and Sergey Pavlovich are tougher fights at heavyweight today than Stipe Miocic. So if Jones goes out and beats Stipe, his win still isn't better than Pavlovich and Blades for Aspinall, and it isn't better than Renan Ferreira's on the record of Francis Ngannou. So who's this legacy for? Because it's not like you're fighting Stipe, who's in the peak or prime of his career. You're fighting Stipe, who has been out of action for over 3 years, around almost 4, and he's coming off the back of a knockout loss, a devastating knockout loss to guess who? The former UFC heavyweight champion, who, guess what? Never lost that belt in the octagon. So as much as John Jones fans will sit there and go, oh, John's So Aspinall's a fake champion. They only created it because of the injury. You're right. They created it because John got injured and wouldn't vacate the belt. But if anyone's a fake champion, wouldn't it be John Jones? Who did he beat for the belt? He beat a man who got beaten by the previous champion with 2 bum knees at the time. So at this point, what's the heavyweight division in the UFC? Ruined. The heavyweight division's been ruined in the UFC because you've got one man who's running through the division and not getting the just rewards. You got another man holding it up for his own personal legacy. And then the president glazing that man who's not doing the right thing and crapping on the guy who is doing the right thing. It's an absolute joke. Shout out to Simo who's saying, yeah, I sparred in the MMA gym and that 1 minute mark couldn't come any quicker. Trust me, bro. Yesterday, I got a shout out to my good friend of mine, Sal and H. Went to a boxing gym and did some work there. When I say work, as in not media work, I actually went and trained there. And I hadn't trained in any combat sport for maybe a couple years now. I promise you, I have not been put through my paces like that in a while. And that wasn't me sparring. That wasn't me fighting anyone. That was me just doing strength and conditioning and pad work. It was so tough. So tough. Like the way people speak about fights. And again, look, I know what I've said about Jones today. I've never once called him a name. I've never once disrespected him as a human or a fighter. I wouldn't do that. Others can do that. That's up to them. But I'm not going to do that because I know what it takes to get in there and the sacrifice it makes. They make. I do think people need to chill with some of the stuff they say about fighters because they get in there and they risk it all. But again, another little tangent from me. Do you know what also this does with this Jones situation? It makes a shambles of the interim title picture. Because if you're now on the cusp of fighting for a title and they offer you interim, does it even mean anything anymore? What does it mean? What does it mean you're just going to get the fight? Because let's be real, Dana can make any fight he wants. They're trying to get the John Jones result of the 12-6 elbow against Matt Hamill overturned. If you're going to get overturned, should we go and get Nick Diaz five years worth of money as well, where he couldn't fight because he smoked cannabis when that was illegal, but it was overturned? Should we go and change the results of certain matches like the Ross Pearson versus Diego Sanchez when everyone in the world could see that he was robbed? Or are we just going to go out of our way for John Jones because you want to stat pad someone and make them the Michael Jordan of MMA because you don't have one, because you've not been able to have one generated organically? What are you going to do next? Overturn his no contest against DC and say, oh, it was only a pictogram or whatever they're saying? Do better, man. I love this sport. I love MMA. I love the UFC. Don't become boxing. Don't become all the things I hate about boxing, all the things that fight fans hate about boxing, because that's what you're doing right now. And Jones is leading that. And I hate to say it, from a guy who's so talented, he's become really self-centered and egotistical and entitled. And it's sad to see. It's really sad to see. But we will see. He's got a fight next week, so he's got to focus on that rather than speaking about Alex Pereira, etc. His next fight, if he were to fight after Stipe, should be for the fight against Aspinall. Any other fight is a shambles. I want to speak about another person who talks a good game but doesn't often deliver, and that is Colby Covington. He is another person who's openly ducked a fighter, and he's ducked Ian Gary. That being said, he has called out Jack Della Maddalena. JDM hasn't fought since he fought against Gilbert Burns and won that fight in sensational fashion and had a broken arm while doing it. He wants to fight JDM at the UFC 312 card in Australia. Now, anyone who knows Colby is very strategic with how he calls people out and who he calls out. There's a reason, in my opinion, that he avoided Ian Gary. He knows he can out-grapple Ian Gary. I just don't think he feels he can get on the inside to grapple Ian Gary without getting pieced up. Ian Gary is a very rangy fighter and uses range extremely well. He also called out Wonderboy previously. He knows why he's calling out Wonderboy, because Wonderboy is susceptible to being taken down. He hasn't called out Sean Brady, who he knows is a very good grappler. He won't fight Usman again. He's just lost to Edwards. That fight's not going to happen. And obviously, Shapkat was due to fight for the belt. Colby Covington, in my opinion, shouldn't even be ranked number 6. Colby Covington is getting favor of the UFC, it seems, because he is chummy with Donald Trump. And obviously, we know Dana White and Donald Trump's relationship. But we also know Colby's got title aspirations. And what's the easiest route to a title? Beating a JDM and then calling for the belt or calling for the title shot. I don't think he should get the JDM fight. I don't think he should have that fight. I think that fight should be someone else. I prefer to see JDM versus Della Maddalena, for example. Sorry, I said JDM. I prefer JDM to get a fight against Brady, sorry. Colby doesn't deserve that fight. He just shouldn't. And again, we remain to be seen what happens next with Colby and JDM, but I don't think he should. I'd rather Usman fight JDM. At least Usman went up in weight and challenged himself against Hamzat. Colby just sits there and cherry picks and then gets one win and then gets a title shot. It's ridiculous on so many levels. But we'll see what happens there. Obviously, he had a full interview on Submission Radio. I'm not going to go into everything on his interview. I know he plays a character, but I don't even know if he does play a character anymore. But I'm not one to give him airtime like that, if I'm going to be honest. It goes over my head, man. And then finally, I want to speak about Max Holloway, who has spoken after his recent loss to Ilia Topuria. And I'll play the video of what he says because it's very intriguing and it's whet my appetite for what he could potentially do next. And it just shows also his mentality. The guy is an absolute warrior. So here's the video.
155, bro. Cannot wait. Can't wait, boys. All I know is we saw Alex Pereira get finished, right? Next fight, he fought for the number 1 contender spot. Fought for the title, and he's on a title run right now, an unspectacular title run. Let's mimic it. Let's do it. I get inspiration in that. He's a beast. He is a beast.
He's absolutely right about all of that. Alex Pereira got finished at 185 devastatingly by Israel Adesanya. Went up in weight. Fought Jan Blachowicz, got a close win, which I didn't at the time think he won, but he got a close win, and then has gone from strength to strength to strength. Looking at the 155-pound division, Max is already ranked number 5 in that division. Max just came off a devastating loss to Ilia Topuria. He's already beaten Justin Gaethje, who's ranked number 3. Stopped him. So again, if I'm going to be honest with the whole rankings, I don't understand why he's lower than Justin Gaethje in the rankings. That to me makes no sense. Oliver is fighting Chandler. Sarukian's fighting Makachev. Now, Poirier and Max have both spoken about fighting each other. For Max, he says he'd love to be Dustin's last fight. That leaves one other man, and that's Dan Hooker. Either way, in that division, I genuinely believe, shout out to Chris Brack in the comments, big up yourself, bro. Hope you're well, hope the family's good. I genuinely believe Max is 1 or 2 maximum wins in lightweight division away from a title fight. He's a big name. He's a massive star, former world champion, BMF champion, one of the most fan-friendly fighters on the roster. For me personally, he's 1 win, maybe 2 away from an automatic title shot. And for him taking Alex's inspirational journey, makes all the sense in the world because there's so many similarities there. It's just now whether he can go and do it. And I'll be honest, I fancy Max against a lot of the lightweights. Again, I've got Islam out by himself as the best lightweight in the world. I don't think Max beats Islam. I do think he can beat everyone else, but I don't want to go too deep in this because I'm actually going to do a video on this in detail about who I think Max's first opponent at lightweight should be. So I'm going to go into detail on that. So I'm not going to go too deep into it now, but I'm going to get through some of the comments before I promote Luke's channel and Jamie's as well. Shout out to Andrew, says make sure you like the on the way in people. Shout out to Ensman as well. Shout out to Leon. Andrew says the little that I know about this sport from the channel, so thanks for that, and I'll big up yourself, and I appreciate you so much, man. Tyler says John Jones stat padding like Mayweather in his old age. Yeah, he is. At least Floyd did fight fighters when he could, and boxing's a lot more difficult to make a fight than the UFC. Simmer says I've sparred in MMA gym and that 1 minute mark couldn't come quick enough. Trust me, yesterday when I was doing boxing, I thought I was going to throw up. Like, it was such a difficult workout, and my trainer even told me he went a bit easy on me, which made me feel even worse. John, this from Chris, says John Jones will always be seen as a great, but for me, will have a big asterisk next to his name. I agree. I think, and this is what I don't think Jones is understanding. I think the longer Jones's career is looked at, the more scrutiny it comes under, and the less it will be looked at in glowing terms. I don't think his resume is aging well or will age well, which is why I think the Aspinall fight would be important for him. Chris also says Colby is Arsenal FC, had aspirations for the titles, but bottles it when counts. Yeah, there's a lot of similarities there. Loudest as well. Loudest fan base, loudest team, and then the loudest fighter who doesn't back it up. Colby's a wannabe. Chris Brown, I'm a True Hill. You are True Hill, bro. You're True Hill, but also one of the nicest people I know as well. Eagle MMA says, Cal, what's your KO of the year and fighter of the year? So KO of the year for me so far is Max versus Gaethje at UFC 300. Fighter of the year, so I always break it into two categories, men's and women's. Men's fighter of the year so far. Sorry about that, guys. So as I was saying, yeah, men's fighter for me is Ilia Topuria. Women's fighter of the year is a bit more of a tricky one because none of the big names have really fought more than once. And if they have fought more than once, they've only won one out of their fights. I may go Valentina just because of how dominant she was against Alexa Grasso and how close the second fight was, and the fact that she lost the first one. So I may go Valentina. Plus, I want to keep Jamie happy as well, so I'll go Valentina Shevchenko. But yeah, we are going to do end of year awards in December. I couldn't do it last year. I wanted to do the end of year awards for last year, but my youngest was born on the 23rd of December, so I couldn't do anything then. But God willing, should be able to do it this time. Andrew says someone didn't want that truth to come out. Yeah, probably right. Also, I want to share a little exclusive with you guys. I'm going to show you guys my phone because I don't want to upload it. I'm probably going to post this on social media later on today. When I say I was literally like a big kid. So you guys are going to see this exclusively. I hope you can see it, and it comes out quite well on camera. Look who I met yesterday. I managed to take a picture of, guys. I don't know if that's in focus. I'm going to post on social later on today, so you'll be able to see it. Yep, that is Roy Jones Jr., guys. I was in the gym with Roy Jones Jr. yesterday. The great Roy Jones Jr. I got to meet him, got to speak to him. Didn't get to interview him, but hopefully we'll get to do that in the future. But you know the old adage goes, never meet your heroes because you'll be disappointed. It doesn't relate to John, not John. It doesn't relate to Roy Jones Jr. One of the nicest, most humble, friendly people I've met from the fight game. He was in the gym and he went around and shook everyone's hand. He made time for everyone, sat down and spoke to me in a group of people. Like Roy Jones Jr. is such a good guy. Such a good guy. Was obviously a phenomenal boxer. But such a good guy. And it was such an honor to be in the gym with him. Look, I'm not gonna say I sparred Roy Jones and beat him. If you guys want to put that narrative out there, then feel free. But no, all jokes aside, no, Roy Jones, absolute legend, and it was such a pleasure meeting him. Right, people, for myself, I'll probably be back on the channel on Monday. If anything happens over the weekend, then obviously you'll see me, but probably best case scenario, you'll see me on Monday. Back for MMA Monday. If you haven't already, please do smash the like button. Also, make sure you go to the links in the description, subscribe to Luke's channel, subscribe to Jamie's channel. Also, subscribe to Talking Cop, where you will see Chris Brack as well. Shout out to all the guys over there. I've not spoken to those guys in a little while, apart from Chris, but shout out to all those guys. Always been very nice to me as well. So nothing but love to Talking Cop as well. People, got UFC Fight Night this weekend with Prates and Magny, which I did a preview or short preview on Wednesday about. So if you haven't watched that video, please do watch that video as well. People, I'll be back next week. If you don't see me before Monday, I hope you all have a fantastic and phenomenal weekend. Thank you all for watching and listening. And before you go, please make sure you subscribe to the Sanderson Show. Thank you, everyone. Take care.